Welcome to the HIT podcast, H.I.T, Human Resources, Insurance, and Technology. I'm your host, Toby Kennedy. We are dropping into your feed every week on Tuesdays with new episodes with what we hope are bite-sized, digestible, well-curated. We go out and try to find amazing people with good thoughts, bring it to you, and on a weekly basis, keep you up to date with what is going on in the space. Today's episode will be no exception. Today's episode is brought to you by Montage Insurance Solutions. And without any further ado, let's get right into it. I am super excited to bring on my guest, Mark Dunahoo. Mark is not only someone that works with a company we think is fascinating, but also someone that we personally ended up partnering with here at Montage Insurance Solutions. So it's just such a great product that every once in a while we go out, we find someone, we go, wow, this is a really fun idea. Want to talk to that person, want to bring him to you. So let me bring on, without any further ado, Mark. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Toby. Nice being here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being out. So maybe really quickly, kind of before we dive into TruHu and before we dive into all the things that we can kind of talk about today, talk to me about Mark a little bit. Okay, give me a quick nickel tour of your background and what got you into the chair.
Yeah, well, I've been in the insurance industry for my entire career, really InsurTech, working with brokers, carriers, other people in the space. And really, primarily, I'm helping them with their clients most of that time, right? Because a lot of insurance brokers have to recommend solutions, and I've kind of played that role. And throughout my career, which has primarily been in sales, I've had a lot of opportunities to lead teams across a lot of the different InsurTech vendors out there. And I had an opportunity to come to TruHu, working with Pete Yazzo. He's one of the people that founded Think HR Mineral, so he created that company. I worked with him briefly when I was over at Think HR, and I was over at another company, and he pulled me along for the ride, and here I am. So we're trying to continue to make an impact in this space, help brokers and their clients and HR people with really cool, innovative things that can drive solutions for their businesses.
Yeah, that's what I really found so interesting about your background is that you've spent really a career basically saying, I got to keep an ear to the ground for human resource professionals, see what might be a solution for them, tweak it, and bring something that we think makes their life better, easier, faster, stronger, sort of a thing, which is a really interesting kind of chair to have been in.
Yeah, I think a lot of brokers out there, for the most part, try to operate in this space where they really strive to be this trusted advisor. So if you're going to help them out, you really have to understand the pains and the issues that their clients are experiencing to create a strong partnership with them to solve those problems and help put them in that position where they can really bring value to their clients. So you kind of naturally sit side by side the broker in a lot of cases. So I try my best to be a good steward to them. I don't know insurance like they do, but I try to understand some of the issues that they have. And if we can solve problems together, great.
Yeah, and speaking of solving problems, let's dive right into TruHu and sort of what it is and kind of what you guys bring to the table.
Yeah, sure. So our company, we actually just started with the premise that we really want to make an impact on the employee experience. So the company was founded in 2019. We had this idea, COVID came, threw a wrench in it, but to some degree, it also provided a lot of clarity. So, like a lot of people coming into 2020 with ideas on what the employee experience looks like, it changed dramatically. And one of the things that we found right away was that communication specifically was like, it was just not thought of. And the more and more time that we spent working with brokers to try to solve these problems, the more that we kind of identified this is where we should be. And we rebranded from, an employee experience specifically to employee communications. We feel that the problem's big enough to solve. It's interesting. We don't feel that there are enough people that are investing in this area, and there's an opportunity for brokers to really make a difference and impact for the businesses that they work with if they just think about it a little bit differently and bring new solutions to the market.
Yeah, I'm really grateful, as I mentioned at the head, to say that, at Montage, we have engaged in this partnership, so it is available for our clients. But setting that piece aside, when you say communications weren't really thought of, I think what I'm hearing you say is, from an employer need standpoint, I have to get information out to my employees. How I promulgate that, how I get that out the door had a certain amount of efficiency, but you guys came in, kind of put on your jeweler's loop, sharpen your pencil a little bit and said, hey, if we redraw the equation, we can change that efficiency to the good.
Yeah, let me backpedal a little bit because I don't want to give the perception that these companies weren't thinking of it. I think the way that I would probably reframe it a little bit is they weren't always necessarily looking for tech for the answers for some of these. So like in the blue and gray collar space, still on-site just reigns supreme for them. Um, and I do think that on-site is a really valuable thing, right? But they're using on-site to collect forms and to ensure that people show up to a meeting and people engage instead of just really meeting the employee where they're at. So um, I'm thinking more in that terms, and the same kind of thing happened with the white collar, right? Like everyone, they all went remote. Everyone had Zoom, and they're deploying these sorts of things. But then, you have this whole problem where employees feel disconnected, managers are stressed out, and we think that Zoom can close, Zoom and Teams and these other, tech can close the gap, and they don't. So on one side, you have some skepticism to tech. The other side, you have kind of an over engineering of tech. And I think what we do that makes us different is we really try to take a practical approach on what's best for the employer, to help them solve the problem in a way that keeps everyone engaged and involved at the same time.
So yeah, okay. So from a high level standpoint, I understand you guys are saying, I want to look at the field of communication and we do it in such and such a way. Literally practically. Talk to me about if someone has no idea what TruHu is, literally what is TruHu?
Yeah, great question. So we have a platform that's meant for a company. It's branded for a company, or really it's a HR tool. And that platform, essentially, it's going to tell them, it's going to allow them to schedule messages. They can do email, text messaging, instant messages, and chats. Like they have all these tools and resources to communicate with employees, but they know, did they open it? When they open it? Was it delivered? So they get a lot of insights to solve the problem. So if you send out an email, you might not know if you're sending them to personal emails, for example, if they're opening them. So instead, you continue to send emails out instead of just giving the person a call. So, getting those insights and then also giving them the tools to send in various different methodologies really puts the HR person in control to engage and reach the person that they're intended to. And we try to implement that across everyone, right? Like across the managers at the company, across, safety operations. But at the end of the day, most benefits brokers, who's our primary person that we distribute our product through, like Montage, are are really working, really closely with HR. So they're the primary constituent that we're trying to drive for and help. And then on the other side, you have employees who they have an application experience. They can get the messages, they can chat, they can get the resources that they need, because we have a place to host information for them. And we try to make it as easy as possible for anyone to bring their own device, if they have devices, to use the platform in really any way that works for the workforce.
Yeah, the storing information piece is one. I really like that. I want to get into that a bit as a almost like a document storage tool, which you guys can service as. But I want to kind of stick on the thread of communications because you mentioned the different modalities and then you mentioned text messaging in amongst a few different ways to communicate. And I really kind of want to drill down on a couple of thoughts on texting. Number one, like the etiquette, is it too intimate? Is it allowed? And then number two, the efficacy, how much more effective texting is if companies and employers are comfortable doing that.
Well, as far as the etiquette goes, employees want to receive messages, and I would think that from an etiquette perspective, let's take personal emails, for example, and let's break that down. Companies don't always give employees their own email, like a corporate email. So what's the etiquette at communicating with someone in a way that they know that person's not going to show up? I mean, it's kind of, to me, I go, that's really not effective. That doesn't really show that you're trying to reach the person. And if they don't respond, you don't really have an answer for it. Today's 2024, people are used to getting text messages. They get it from their mechanics. They get it from their doctor. They get it all over the place, and they prefer it. They prefer it. So I think what we're seeing is a really big awakening to, hey, look, I want to get information the easiest way possible for me, the way that I like to communicate. And then, primarily, and then number two is like, don't be rude. You also have to be conscious that you're texting someone on their device. You will reach them more likely. The stats are on open rate, they're 4-to-1. On click rate, it's 13 times more likely to click with text messages. So if you give them a call to action, they're 13 more times more likely to actually complete like a task.
Relative to an email.
Then pardon me, sorry, did I miss something?
Oh, is it 13 times more likely than what? Than an email?
Than an email, yeah. So So what I'm bringing up is like, if you're starting to blast them text messages with things that aren't valuable to them, like you have to be conscious of it. But if it's things that every employee wants, so so like every employee wants to know, have a reminder about holidays. It's great corporate advertising. No one doesn't want like if there's a Monday to say, hey everyone, don't forget, don't come in on Monday. Everyone wants that text message. I can
Yep.
assure you right now, everyone wants it. There's lots of them, like weather, company events that are really safe to do that employees want updates on, and those are going to email today. So I think I answered both of those, but by and large, like you just got to be conscious of it, and texting's way better.
I agree. And I wanted to give you a chance to speak to it because I agree with your philosophy on the etiquette part of it. I think that to certain generations or to folk that maybe haven't forayed into this, it might on the employer side feel, oh, is this too intimate or not? But like you said, it's effective communication. So if you're deploying in the right ways, like you said, hey, especially because you can segment. So maybe it's, now I'm going to get super drilled down, but it's construction specific. And it's the guys that we're going to work on the Main Street project. And we don't have the gear there that day. So we want you to go to somewhere else. So I don't need you to go all the way to the job site and then be told go home or go someone else, right? We can send you that message ahead of time. You can go and do that. So I think, like you said, if we're thoughtful about it, but even more broadly, as a guy that really tries to work with employers to communicate benefits, little things like you said, hey, coming up on the, a holiday weekend, right? Like, hey guys, in advance of Labor Day weekend, I want to remind everyone about our travel assistance program. If you're more than 100 miles from home, don't forget this. It's a great benefit. Or, hey guys, as we come up on the winter seasons, just want to remind everyone, we have a confidential EAP. So if anyone wanted to call in and speak to anybody, reminder about that. And you kind of drip the benefits throughout the year. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you could tell I wanted to, you could tell I
Yeah, yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
talk.
yeah,
You
yeah.
said EAP there. That's a great point because I'll just beg the question, like things like EAP and the benefits and the things that you really want to promote. If they're going to email, they don't get them. Employees value these programs. They might not always participate, but like to some level, we start to beg the question, like, are you really reaching them and promoting them? And then it just boils down to compliance too. Like there's some things that are when you're starting to talk reminders like, hey, don't forget to get your safety training done.
Right.
You have a track record with TruHu, a paper trail, if you will, or electronic trail to say like, I sent it, they opened it, they saw it. There's a lot of CYA that you get from platforms that help you communicate better
Yeah.
that the traditional methods, they just don't provide.
And in addition, as we're being forced on the state of California, you probably know, but we employers had to implement an active shooter policy, right? So what are we doing as an employer if something, God forbid, were to happen to quickly get messaging out? And the ability to text everybody is pretty handy, especially if it's only location based. So I only need to text everyone at this site, but not that site or not company wide.
Yeah, there's actually a really great case study with, I can't mention the name because it's a confidential case study, but they're based out of Iowa and they're a huge nonprofit. And there's some government funding related to getting people notified without, having a bell. And it's a retail location or a bell or alarm
Yeah.
because of active shooter bombs. And initially they had email, they had a color system and things that they were using, and employees just weren't paying attention. When we switched it to text, they went from 8 minutes and they were going to lose some funding and they were going to have to do some pretty extreme measures. We implemented just text messaging and we shaved that time down to under a minute to get everyone out of a building. And this was a pretty sizable building. There were 120 employees that were working there. And there's a lot of really interesting things that you can use this sort of technology for that people really are just starting to touch the tip of the iceberg on.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So, speaking of additional uses, I teased earlier kind of a document storage platform, but we've had a few clients say that they don't love the manner in which they're sending employees to find SBCs and EOCs and all that stuff. So, leveraging TruHu for that as well. Can you speak a little bit to the capabilities there?
Yeah, so the employee-facing app, basically it can receive the communications via text, you can receive it via email, but then you come in and then you can communicate further. We do it in a way where you don't have to log in, but side by side with that is we put essentially a microsite or landing page that's available for employees. It's completely secure, and we can even make it, really secure by forcing logins and additional authentication. But we bring them to the place where at any given point in time, they can click into the application and their entire intranet is there. Sometimes it's focused around their operations, like you mentioned, job sites. Like, maybe they can look to see if their construction, like you said, who the foreman is on the job, who the other subs are. There's lots of different ways to do it, but everything for the HR person, the employee, just set it up. It's drag or drop. You mentioned files. If you got a file that details this, you can just drag or drop. Now you have a place for the document. It's not exactly the same as like a Microsoft Cloud or something like that, because you have a lot more control where it's not just a document with a link sitting there. You can provide some context. You can provide additional instructions in multiple documents in one place to illustrate a workflow. So we really make it something that the employer can put to use to create more self-serve for their business too. And employees love it. It's something simple like just the employee directory for a lot of these blue collar companies I've seen be transformative. I wouldn't think that. I'm a white collar guy. I work with brokers, but it is. And there's a lot of things that people can do that are just small tweaks to get a lot more out of their business if they start to think creatively that way.
Yeah, you mentioned what it's not the same as, and I think that's a really great next question for me, because I'm sitting here wondering if an HR person might think, oh well, we message using this, or we scratch that itch with the following mousetrap. And what might employers be doing? Why are you different? Where do you fit in?
Yeah, so I think the most common thing that people will probably be saying that are using things like text messaging, because we spend a lot of time on text messaging, is, well, I have a human capital management system that has some of these capabilities. The key difference is, if you're really trying to understand like what those systems accomplish, a lot of the things that I'm bringing up, you're probably thinking, yes, it can do those same things, but they're not. They're very similar things. But let's take a specific journey, for example. So you have a holiday party that you want to get out to everyone, and you want to create a place to collaborate. Most of these systems, for example, you're going to go in, you're going to send a notice. It's going to tell employees. You might have to attach a SurveyMonkey link or something for people to say, here's what I'm bringing to the potluck, or here's, what I'm doing. We can essentially, with one click of a button, we can make it deliverable to everyone, just as well as those platforms as anything else. They don't have to download it. They don't have to have a login. So it increases your likelihood to engage. But on top of that, we can really make that whole experience in one send dynamic. So we can attach a survey to it to say, hey, what do you bring into the holiday party? In one single message. And it feels great. We can get a really good tally of who is delivered to, who it wasn't delivered to, who's clicked, when they've come back in. We can auto send reminders to the people that haven't engaged yet over the course of a period of time. So there's a lot more controls, where an HR person in the previous thing might have a lot more process to manage. With TruHu, you can kind of just be like, all right, this is kind of what I want it to look like. Let's send. Yeah, I want it to continue to remind people until we get everyone across the finish line, and then you're done. And I think that peace of mind of being able to just get the task done the first time that you're trying to do it is really what drives a lot of the positive experience for the employees. And it also drives a really rewarding experience for HR to just, have something that hyper focuses on this challenge that people still seem to not be able to do, which is just get employees to respond and participate in some of the events and things that they're trying to, initiatives that they're trying to move forward.
Yeah, I think that last bit is such a universal nut to crack sort of a thing, where they're like, my goodness, I'm trying to get this information out. I'm trying to tell my employees. And when you can raise the bar from an efficiency standpoint, you guys wind up being one little piece of this overall ecosystem, but you just fit in so nicely and sort of fill a lot of different gaps. Is there anything we haven't really touched on yet, or haven't driven home, that you really want to make sure, hey, look, this is part of the TruHu experience?
Yeah, sure. So one of the key tenets that we have is we're really trying to think about communication in an innovative way. We do have an announcement coming, that we're holding a webinar in the end of August, but I want to just say some of the cool stuff that we're doing. So one of the cool things that I'm the most excited about that I want to talk about is just AI. So AI gets a lot of buzz, but one of the biggest things that I've heard from a lot of employers is just the amount of time it takes to just craft one message. It goes out to the entire workforce. And what we see just in Outlook and everything that people do is like they're crafting like multiple messages. So we saw a huge opportunity. We are going to be releasing this product for people to start trying, but basically AI is going to be able to translate any language in the right vernacular, which previous Google Translate and stuff really it gets us close, but it doesn't get us across the finish line. But we'll be able to apply some learning mechanisms. So in the future, what it's going to look like for us, and this is kind of the stuff that we're thinking is, you're an employee, you just kind of communicate how you would communicate, and you're able to get your point across regardless of any language that anyone speaks. And if you're a manager, you can do that, and you only have to do it once. So those are the sorts of things that we're really trying to bring to market to really help employers create a better experience, help reach people the right way, help get people engaged. I mean, and I think what we're going to see is as Spanish workers continue to enter the workforce, as other nationalities like Chinese and people from the Philippines, and also, to be quite blunt, we continue to have a global workforce. The experience is just going to be better and better for everyone, and that's one thing that I would like to throw out. But yeah, we try to stay innovative. We're really excited to solve problems in this space. We're really thankful for your partnership, obviously, and giving us a platform to connect with employers about it. And yeah, just if you want to stay in touch with what we do, a good place is our LinkedIn, TruHu, the TruHu's LinkedIn. Another good place to go is our website. Yeah, more than happy to come back on again, share any insights that I have, but thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. No, I appreciate it. As as I mentioned, I think as I keep my ear to the ground and try to find solutions for who this podcast's client is, which is the HR practitioner, I come across someone like you. I think, my goodness, not only do I want to have this, organization on the show, I want my firm to be able to bring it to all of our clients, and we end up talking. And now there's a sponsorship opportunity. So that's where at the end of every episode, we get to say thank you to TruHu. And in this episode specifically, thank you, TruHu, and thank you, Mark. Thanks for coming out.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Toby. My pleasure.
Awesome. Well, that is all the time we have for you this week. Thank you to our sponsor, TruHu. Join us next week. Join us every week. And until next week, make this the best week yet.